the theme for International Women's Day this year has been for all women and girls, right, equality, empowerment. This theme emphasizes the need for action to unlock equal rights, power, and opportunities for all women and girls, advocating for a feminist future where no one is left behind. The year 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, a significant milestone in the global agenda for women's rights. This declaration serves as a guiding framework for policies and programs that impact critical areas such as education, health, political participation, and economic empowerment. Despite significant progress worldwide, much remains to be achieved to fulfill its promises. In Pakistan, particularly, this milestone offers an opportunity to assess national efforts towards gender parity. The government of Pakistan launched the Uran Pakistan 5 E's framework that catalyzes change, fostering collaboration between the government and key stakeholders to revitalize the economy. Equity and empowerment emphasizes inclusive development that uplifts marginalized groups, including women and youth, by promoting social justice. It ensures that all segments of the society benefit from economic progress, fostering a more equitable and prosperous future for everyone. The discussion will focus on assessing the progress made by Pakistan in implementing the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action over the past 30 years. It will explore achievements, challenges, and future directions for enhancing gender equality across various sectors, such as education, health, economic empowerment, and political participation. So I'll quickly go through the objectives of our session here today. Firstly, it is to conduct a thorough review of Pakistan's progress in implementing key aspects of the Beijing Declaration since its adoption. This also aligns with International Women's Day 2025 by reflecting on past achievements while highlighting areas needing improvement. Secondly, to facilitate discussions that promote equal rights, power, and opportunities for all women and girls in line with International Women's Day's theme, which is, as we all know, for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. Thirdly, enhance collaboration among stakeholders, which includes government agencies, civil society organizations, to accelerate efforts towards gender parity while advocating for legislative reforms that address ongoing challenges faced by women. Another objective of this session is going to be to ensure that national strategies align with international frameworks like the SDGs to achieve sustainable progress towards gender parity by 2030. And lastly, to integrate the Uran Pakistan framework into discussions, emphasizing equity and empowerment by promoting inclusive development, reducing disparities, and ensuring that marginalized groups such as women and youth benefit equitably from economic progress. And to discuss all of this, we have quite an august panel present with us today. I'd like to thank all of them for being here and taking out time. I'd like to briefly introduce them before we proceed towards the session. So we'll be having Ms. Rumina Khurshid Alam, who is coordinator to the Prime Minister on climate change as the chief guest and keynote speaker. We will have Dr. Shahida Rahmani, who is chairperson of the Women's Parliamentary Caucus as the guest of honor. We have three distinguished speakers with us today. We have Ms. Warida Hanif, who is member of Planning Commission. We have Ms. Saman Ehsan, who is from UN Women Pakistan. We have Ms. Rifat Inam Bhatt, who is former Secretary, Ministry of Law and Justice. From SDPI side, we have Dr. Shafqat Munir, who is Deputy Executive Director, Resilience Development Program and Policy Outreach. And Ms. Sadia Sati, who is Gender and Climate Specialist here at SDPI. Once again, a big thank you to all of you for taking out time, especially during Ramzan, for this session here today. With that, I'd like to proceed towards the session and request Dr. Shafqat Munir for his opening remarks. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Manur. I think today's session is a very unique session. It's not every day like we are observing Women's Rights Day in March. It has a significance because our title also says Beijing plus 30. I am the person who have been reporting Beijing Declaration as a journalist. So I'm that old, yeah, by the way. I have seen how it was, being formulated, what was our role, how, civil society from Pakistan was pushing it up, and how it was adopted, and what were the resistance challenges. All over the 30 years, I have been writing on women rights issue, including my PhD thesis also partly covers that. So, by having said that, what I want to say here is that women rights issues with around rights, equality, and empowerment. That needs to address a typical mindset which is a hindrance among this three kind of main empowerments. That mindset is a patriarchal mindset. Secondly, it's a structural one. In patriarchy, in our society, it is people are groomed, or particularly children are groomed in a way. Even girls are groomed in a way that they have to be, sort of a silent in society, or male are groomed differently. That's one thing which we are fighting against. The second one is the structure, which is more important to discuss here, because on patriarchy, lot of attitudinal changes are already taking place, and a lot of literature is available on that. But on the structural side, how that mindset works, I would quote here an example. Madam is here from judiciary. She knows a lot of cases come in judiciary on women, those who fight for their rights, and particularly when women participation in the public sector or private sector is coming up. I would quote a typical example from Islamabad, that a woman was supposed to be the first woman director of a national organization in Pakistan's history. But she was denied that that time of the boss said that she cannot be given this charge because she is a woman. How can she do it at that level? Despite the fact that she was on top and everything, she approached to the court, Islamabad High Court. The same judge who did not hear this plea or this argument that she is going to the first in 74 years. That's an argument, and also, of course, on the basis of seniority and all this. But they said that it doesn't matter who comes up. Supersede to hote rehte hain. Now the same judge has been superseded. That's the makafat amal. He is now approached. He has approached the Supreme Court for his, that he should be made something. That's the. This is the mindset. When you are on the seat, you discriminate. That mindset has to be addressed to us. That's the fundamental thing what we want. 3 reports have released recently on the international reports released on this day, this year, on 30th anniversary of the declaration. One is from UN Women. I guess our colleague will tell about that. Second is UNICEF, and third is UN Trade. All the 3 reports marks that we could not achieve the targets. And look at the SDG 5. I have edited a report on the status of women, Commission on the Status of Women, their report. That says that, we are far behind reaching the targets under SDG 5. Now in Pakistan, during last 30 years, as I said, I have been reporting from the first day and watching it even now. Many changes have taken place. For example, the biggest success was the anti-sexual harassment law. I was part of that campaign as well, and I wrote the first article in the news at that time when it was kicked off. The campaign was kicked off. And this was the campaign within 10 years which was successful. That's the success of 30 years. Then women participation. Now we can see Dr. Saba in the position, and many other colleagues, those who have women colleagues, those who are on the position now. But 30 years back, the situation was not that. Situation is improving, it's getting better, and situation is worse, and worse not only in Pakistan, across the world. Say, whether in the United States, women are still being subjugated to their laws, and similarly in other parts of the world also. But that doesn't mean that we should stop our struggle. Our struggle is to address the mindset that hinders rights, equality, and empowerment. And I guess I'm not the key speaker or lead speaker, so I will stop here. I will leave the other things to rest of my speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shafkat. Rightfully said that is not just a third world or a global south issue, but the developed world, such as the United States, also faces it. And I think a prime example of that is they still have not had a female president. as opposed to Pakistan, which has had one prime minister, sorry. So moving forward, I'd like to request Dr. Ms. Sadia Sati for her agenda setting for her agenda setting presentation. Sadia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mahnur. My presentation, this is just brief overview of the gender equality in Pakistan. So starting from the SDG progress, this is the snapshot from the SDG report 2024. So we can see the gender equality stagnating still. So coming to the SDG 5, which has 9 targets areas. So this is the statistical overview of these targets जो हमारे recent data show करता है वो. So if we come into the target number 1, that is end discrimination, but we all know that in global gender gap index report 2024, Pakistan ranks 145th out of 146 countries, and this ranks below in economic empowerment, in health and education, and this is the continuous below ranking from past many years. Coming to the target 5.2, which is eliminate all form of violence. So in Pakistan, 90% of women have experienced domestic violence. Or this map shows that there is a different kind of violence, which include the threatening, pushing, slapping, etc. But only 30.9% have taken the legal action against this violence. Our target 5.3, that is end harmful practices. But in Pakistan, nearly 19 million child brides, or every 1 in 6 women were married in their childhoods. Target 5.4, that is the recognize and value unpaid care work. Care economy is another major challenge in Pakistan. Women in Pakistan spend 11 times more than men in unpaid domestic care work. Research shows that women above 10, they spend 19.9% in their unpaid domestic works, and which hinder them from access to the health and education, etc. The target point for 5.5, that is promoting women leadership and participation. So in a global gender gap index report, Pakistan ranks 112th amongst 146 countries in political empowerment. So in Pakistan, only women representation in is 20.5% in the parliamentary seats, but we also have the dichotomy of the gender, because there are some challenges, but there is some progress. In 2024 elections, women voter registers थी, that were more than men, but जो turnout था, that was only 17.4%. जो हम लोगों को इलेक्शन में शो हुआ. So coming to the target 5.6, that is ensuring reproductive health and rights. So there is high fertility rate, like 3.4 children per woman, but with the low birth spacing and early pregnancies. Target 5.A, this is equal rights to economic resources. So this shows the female labor force participation globally is 30.4% among this is the global participation 30.4%, and in Pakistan we have between some data show that is 21% and some shows that 26%, but this is between 21% to 26%, that is lower in South Asia also. So and other target, that is the technology for women empowerment. So there is 38% gender gap in ownership of mobile phones, that men own more than and they do have more access to the internet. We can see that women participation in STEM force, or maybe the in education sector, that like in engineering and technical roles, there is a huge gap because of the digital literacy. So coming to the target 5.C, that is strengthening policies and legislation. So approximately we do have 77.8% of legal framework that includes and promote and enforce the gender equality. But when we come to the implementation, we lack there. So I hope Mr. Fath will be enlightened us more on this. So as today's topic includes the Beijing Declaration 30 plus. So jo 30 plus review hai that is starting from tomorrow in Status of Women, Commission of Status of Women meetings 69th session in New York that is starting from tomorrow. But this year we are also reviewing the 30 and celebrating the 30 years of Beijing Declaration. That is the document which globally have recognized by the 189 countries in fourth Women Conference in Beijing that promotes gender equality and women's rights. So this is the reflection from the Pakistan review from past 5 years. So we can see there is some legislative and policy advancement in past 5 years. Like in 2022, we have this ICT Disability Rights Act, Legal Aid and Justice Act, Punjab Women Development Policy Implementation Framework from 2022 to 2024. It includes the Punjab Women Property Act, Anti-Rape Act, and Senior Citizen Act in 2021. And this also includes some of the laws from 2022. We have the amendment in Protection Against Harassment Act, and we do have this Domestic Work Act. National Security Policy includes gender security as a pillar. This was the first time in 2022. And then National Gender Policy Framework. Then we have this education sector plans that includes the gender responsiveness in all provinces. And in 2023, we do have this Maternity and Paternity Leaves Act and Daycare Centers Act. These all are reflection from the Beijing Declaration review of Pakistan. This is the gender impact of the crisis. There were two huge incidents that happened from past 2 years. That one was the COVID and the other was the flood 2022. So coming to the COVID-19, according to the rapid gender assessment surveys conducted by UN Women on the impact of the COVID-19, that shows that health disparities, women struggle more than the men to access the hygiene products and medical supplies, gender-based violence, that 25% was rise in the domestic violence cases, 3,217 cases between March to May 2022 was registered in Punjab alone. Coming to the economic and domestic work burden, so the highest unpaid workload among the 7 countries, Pakistan was ranked in this, and 20 million fewer women have NICs, and that blocks them to access to the relief and financial aid during this time of calamities. So exclusion from COVID-19 responsive, we can see that women made up only 5.5% of COVID committees, and only 2,000 women were the part of the corona relief and that the Tiger Force at that time. That is only 0.8%. Coming to the gender impact of crisis of 2022 floods, this is very limited, which I think they have reviewed in their report. So women and children are 14 times more likely than men to die in disaster. So their health was disrupted. 2,000 healthcare facilities were destroyed, impacting the maternal and reproductive health, and almost 650,000 pregnant women were affected in the time of floods. This impacted the girls and women. 45% of 45 cases of child marriages recorded in a single village, and 26,000 school damages affecting 3.5 million children. A majority of them were girls, and according to the surveys, 69% of school-going girls dropped out of the school because of the floods. So gender, these were the gender impact, but the response was not the gendered to the these crises. Some of the key challenges that is identified in Beijing Declaration in Pakistan review, that is the economic inequalities, that is gender-based violence, education skills and barriers, political and leadership gaps, crisis and climate impacts, and social and cultural barriers. This is the snapshot from the budget allocation of fiscal year of 23 to 24. That was around 49,990 million, but that is also the only 3.38% of total budget. But after like this reflection, we have some upcoming plans. We can see the Udan Pakistan initiative, that is 5 E's that include export, e-commerce, and one is the main component that involve women and children and youth, that is equity and empowerment. That shows that they'll achieve a gender parity index of 1, increase the gender parity score by World Economic Forum by 18%. Increase female labor force participation by 17%, decrease youth unemployment rate by 6%, decrease multidimensional poverty indicates by 11%, and decrease income poverty indicates indecent by 13%. Also, 2 or 3 days ago, Planning Commission has launched the Gender Action Plan of this year. So I think Barira will tell us more about the Gender Action Plan. So this is the European Union Multi-Annual Indicative Program, MIP framework from 21 to 27. This has 3 major priority areas, that is green inclusive growth. The second one is human capital, and third is governance, including the rule of law and human rights. This also includes SDG 5 as cross-cutting in their plans, and this also align with the federal goal to achieving sustainable development goals. This slide shows the World Bank's country partnership framework. Also, this has 3 outcomes. They are focusing on reducing child stunting. The second outcome is reducing learning poverty, and third was increasing private investment. There's no directly gender is included, but gender is coming as a cross-cutting in these priority areas. So I will end my presentation here and would like to speakers to discuss and tell us about, like, as this year theme is rights, equality and empowerment. So how these can be achieved in all the spheres of life, like that is politics, society, economy and household levels. And considering Pakistan as a climate vulnerable country and women are affected more here, what should be the Pakistan roadmap to Beijing Declaration and Belém, that is in Brazil COP30. So, and keeping Udan, World Bank framework and EU's development priorities in focus, how to implement rights, equality and empowerment.
Thank you very much, Sadia, for that extremely insightful presentation. The numbers are indeed quite depressing, but we can all hope that the government's keen interest in the topic and their initiatives will bear fruit in the future. Just as Sadia has mentioned, these are the 3 questions around which we'll be basing our subsequent discussion. For that, perhaps I'd request Ms. Barira Hanif to start. So, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for the overview, Ms. Sadia, about the international commitments as well as Pakistan's ranking in all these frameworks available internationally. I will start with the how the government is trying to push these agendas in their development discourse. Over the last since January, we have launched Udan Pakistan, and the major component is equity, ethics, and empowerment, and it's cross-cutting. And under that, we have developed the Gender Action Plan for the ministry, which is basically focusing on analyzing the allocation of for women in the development agenda, as well as we are also trying to, in collaboration with UN Women, we are also trying to mainstream gender in all the PSDP portfolio. So that starts from the inception, appraisals, PD appraisals, then implementation, stakeholders engagement, and then eventually assessing the impact that how that intervention has impacted the local women and the local communities. So this whole cycle will actually help us assess the needs of the local communities as well, because a huge gap that was found in the PSDP was that previously we had not designed the PSDP in a way that addresses the local needs, especially particularly in the context of the gender equality or empowerment initiatives that the Planning Commission has taken. So with this perspective, we will also try to embed the assessment of the local need of the local needs of the women, what exactly they need, whether they need entrepreneurship opportunities or they need basic facilities like water and sanitation, what are the key gaps in the local provinces as well as the local government. Thirdly, under the Udan Pakistan, we have defined certain KPIs, and a National Economic Transformation Unit has been established to set those KPIs and assess the baseline in the beginning. And then at the end of the Udan tenure, we will assess that how much we have improved. So we are setting the KPIs in collaboration with the line ministry. So under the equity, ethics and empowerment, we have several sub-segments like for gender equality, then for labor rights, then youth empowerment, sports, and a lot of other sub-segments are there. And we are setting the targets and baselines with the line ministry. So this is a lot of work that is being done under each and every E. And the line ministries are being trained as well, and they are also being sensitized on this, that we need to now set some targets. Like you saw that those targets, they're very ambitious, but I believe that if you set an ambitious target, then at least in order to achieve that, even if you make 20-30% progress, you can achieve a significant impact. So this is the intervention. The government is seriously taking on a lot of new team has been formulated to implement this Udan Pakistan. So hopefully by the end of this Udan Pakistan project, we'll have some numbers. So yeah, this is kind of intervention that the government is doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barira. जी, बहुत खुशी हो रही है जान के कि गवर्नमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा डेटा पे इस दफ़ा ध्यान दे रही है और काफ़ी एम्फेसिस दे रही है। इसको मद्देनजर रखते हुए मूविंग फॉरवर्ड मैं मिस समन एहसन को दरख्वास्त करूंगी कि अगर आप प्लीज यू कैन प्लीज गिव योर इंटरवेंशंस।
Assalamu alaikum ji. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this discussion. And I would first like to talk a little bit about the Beijing Platform for Action. कि हम 30 साल हो गए हैं Beijing Platform for Action, और हम में से बहुत लोगों ने सुना हुआ है, और perhaps आप में से कुछ लोग या तब बहुत छोटे थे या some of you might not have been born, but I was a student at that time. And I remember कि कितना उस वक्त इवन, हालांकि तब मीडिया इतना नहीं होता था जितना अब है, हर चीज सोशल मीडिया पे पता चल रही है, टीवी पे पता चल रही है। उस वक्त तो हमारा पीटीवी शाम को 5 बजे लगता था और 10 बजे बंद हो जाता था। तो उस वक्त ही मुझे याद है कि कितना एक बड़ी बात थी हम सब के लिए कि बीजिंग में कितनी बड़ी कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही है, और तब हमारी प्राइम मिनिस्टर एक खातून थी, तो बहुत फख्र की बात थी। और आप सोचें कितना अच्छा हमारे कंट्री के लिए लगा दैट अ वुमन was representing this country। जैसे कि महनूर ने कहा कि यूएसए में भी अभी तक फीमेल हेड ऑफ स्टेट नहीं आई, तो हम काफी आगे आ गए हैं, एंड शी इज बीन हेड ऑफ स्टेट ट्वाइस, माशाल्लाह। सो एनीवे, आई जस्ट वांट टू गो बैक कि कितना उस वक्त कितना इट वाज अ सेलिब्रेटरी ओकेजन कि ये हो रहा है, और इट वाज द बिगेस्ट एजेंडा फॉर वुमेन्स राइट्स that was agreed to by 189 countries, और हर कंट्री से डेलीगेशंस गई हुई थी, जिसमें गवर्नमेंट, सिविल सोसाइटी, एकेडमिक्स, एक्टिविस्ट, हर तरह के लोग, मर्द और औरत वहाँ थे, और ट्रांसजेंडर्स भी, टू वर्क ऑन एन एजेंडा कि खवातीन के हकूक के लिए हमने कहाँ जाना है। और एक चीज जो है वो सोचने की है, वो ये कि बहुत सारे हमारे जो एजेंडाज आते हैं ना, वो उसके बाद उसकी एक नई वर्जन आ जाती है। जिस तरह MDGs आए थे, उसके बाद SDGs आ गए, बहुत सारे होते हैं, वो कहते हैं अच्छा जी अब ये पुराना हो गया, अब हमें ये चाहिए। लेकिन बीजिंग प्लेटफॉर्म फॉर एक्शन अभी भी वैलिड है। उस वक्त 30 years ago इट वाज इंस्पिरेशनल, इट वाज रेवोल्यूशनरी, और अभी तक हम उसी पे काम कर रहे हैं। इसलिए उसके बाद कोई और एजेंडा नहीं आया खवातीन के लिए, और हम हर 5 साल उसका रिव्यू करते हैं कि इसमें कंट्रीज ने क्या प्रोग्रेस की है। और अब हम 30 years पे आ गए हैं, तो जो एक बहुत बड़ा माइलस्टोन है पूरी दुनिया के लिए, टू सी के 30 years, 3 decades में तो दुनिया कंप्लीटली बदल गई है। जो आप सोचे 90s में थी, और अब जो दुनिया है इट्स कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट। but we have still not achieved those targets, and that is very disappointing. It's disheartening कि हम 30 साल के बाद वही targets और उसके बाद MDGs के targets भी achieve नहीं हुए, SDGs के targets भी अभी we are far from achieving them. 5 साल रहते हैं and we are far from achieving them. So it is a bit disappointing, but that's it. It's good that we're all here and we're all committed to work on it, or we will keep working until we achieve those targets and hopefully sooner than later. तो अब कमिंग टू पाकिस्तान में बहुत ज़्यादा प्रोग्रेस हुई है. ये जो हमारा नंबर आ रहा है 145 आउट ऑफ 146, ये बिल्कुल इनएक्यूरेट है. मैं इसको नहीं मानती. मैं बहुत सारे नंबर्स को नहीं मानती. जब लोग कहते हैं PDHS के मुताबिक 1 in 3 women have experienced domestic violence, I don't believe that number. क्योंकि I personally know very few females who have not experienced some kind of violence. Violence की तो समझ ही नहीं आती ना लोगों को, कि अगर आपको इमोशनल वायलेंस हो रही है, अगर आपको फाइनेंशियल वायलेंस हो रही है, अगर आपकी मोबिलिटी कंट्रोल की जा रही है, अगर आपको रिसोर्सेज नहीं दिए जा रहे अपनी नीड्स पूरी करने के लिए, दैट्स ऑल्सो वायलेंस. सो मेरे ख्याल में तो बहुत कम खवातीन हैं जिनको किसी भी फॉर्म ऑफ वायलेंस जो है उससे वो महफूज रही हों. तो इस तरह, लेकिन जो वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम का डेटा है वो भी बहुत मुझे गलत लगता है. मेरा ख्याल है 145 तो हो ही नहीं सकता हम हो. एंड दिस इज नॉट जस्ट मी, दिस इज इवन पीपल हु कम फ्रॉम अब्रॉड. आजकल हमारी एक हेडक्वार्टर्स की टीम आई हुई है, हमारे अपने जो हेड हैं वो और डेप्यूटी हेड, हमारे स्टाफ कुछ बाहर से आते हैं. देर शॉक्ड कि अच्छा इतना तो बुरा नहीं है पाकिस्तान. सो अभी लास्ट आई थिंक 10-15 ईयर्स में बहुत ज़्यादा प्रोग्रेस हुई है. जैसे शफकत साहब ने भी कहा, लॉज इनैक्ट हुए हैं. उसमें वन ऑफ द मेजर लॉज वाज द हरासमेंट एट द वर्क प्लेस, जिसको बाद में काफ़ी ज़्यादा एक्सपैंड भी किया गया है. सो दैट इज़ रियली गुड. बहुत सारे और लॉज भी हुए हैं. डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के प्रोविंसेस ने कर लिए हैं, अभी ICT के लिए रहता है. चाइल्ड मैरिज पे अभी लेजिस्लेशन रहती है. प्रोविंस ने सिंध ने कर दी है 18, बट बाकी प्रोविंसेस ने कुछ चेंजेस के साथ वही 1929 वाला कानून जो है वो आ रहा है. सो दैट्स वेरी गुड. एक और जो लॉ रिसेंटली इनैक्ट हुआ है वो है एंटी रेप इन्वेस्टिगेशन एंड ट्रायल. दैट इज अ वेरी, एंड द गुड थिंग इज दैट इट्स अ फेडरल ऑर्डिनेंस, सो इट अप्लाइज टू ऑल द प्रोविंसेस, एंड दैट्स अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग लॉ. उसके रूल्स ऑफ बिजनेस भी हैं, उसके तमाम जो सेकेंडरी लेजिस्लेशन है, जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, जो मैकेनिज्म्स हैं, वो सारे स्पेल्ड आउट हैं. अक्सर लॉज का ये होता है कि लॉ पास हो जाता है लेकिन उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे करना है वो नहीं होता, तो फिर वो वेगनेस में ही रहता है. But in this act, there's been great clarity, and it's bringing all the government and justice sectors. Pe I think Ma'am Rifat ज़्यादा बात करेंगी, together to work on that. एजुकेशन में बहुत सारी स्ट्राइड्स हुई हैं. अभी जो हमारी सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन है उसमें गर्ल्स आर 62%, सो देयर नंबर इज ग्रेटर देन बॉयज और यंग मैन. सो दैट ये बहुत खुशाइन है. और वुमेन्स पॉलिटिकल पार्टिसिपेशन में इम्प्रूवमेंट आई है. दैट इज ऑफ कोर्स मेनली ड्यू टू एन अफर्मेटिव एक्शन कि जो वुमेन का कोटा रख दिया पार्लियामेंट में. सो ठीक है, इट्स अ फर्स्ट स्टेप. और आगे अफर्मेटिव एक्शन इज रिक्वायर्ड अंटिल वुमेन आर कैपेसिटेटेड कि वो खुद ही अपना जो है ना कोटा वो पूरा कर लें विदाउट एनी हेल्प. मुझे अभी याद आ रहा है, आज सुबह मैं अपनी बेटी को, माई डॉटर इज ऑलमोस्ट 9 years old, so I was dropping her to school and we saw a pink bus. So I asked her, do you know this is a pink bus by the government specially for women, so do you think it's a good thing? तो कहती oh yes it's very good. तो then थोड़ा सा उसको, I'm always trying to make her think critically. तो मैंने कहा हाँ it's very good, but why do women need a pink bus? तो वो भी उसे पता है, she knows what patriarchy is. बल्कि कल हम किसी फ्रेंड के साथ थे तो उसने पूछा कि इसको पिंक अच्छा लगता है, and she said that's patriarchal. So she said they need it because of patriarchy, because harassment होती है. मैंने कहा हाँ. So मैंने कहा do you think that the pink bus is the answer? तो she was a bit confused. तो मैंने कहा no it's not the answer. It's like आप चोट के ऊपर बैंडेज लगा दें, थोड़ी देर के लिए तो ठीक रहेगा, लेकिन अगर अंदर नीचे वुंड है उसको ठीक नहीं करेंगे तो नहीं होगा. So unless we smash patriarchy, and that's what I'm teaching her, unless we smash patriarchy, ये जो हम बहुत सारे काम कर रहे हैं they're only temporary. So this is my hope. I hope that every generation, if you see that we stood on the shoulders of our mothers and grandmothers, and now the next generation will be even more progressive than us. And what I see is कि next generation में boys में भी change आ रहा है, क्योंकि जो हमारी generation थी उसमें औरतों में काफी change आ गया. They became very strong, but men did not learn to deal with strong women. So I hope that now the strong women raise men and women who are strong and who together will smash patriarchy, because patriarchy is not good for any one of us, not even for the men, and not for our society, not for the country, not for the world. So anyway, that's all from my end at the moment, and later on we can see if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saman. Those were some very positive, sort of insightful comments about the condition of Pakistan, and we hope that in the future, like you said, things do get even better. And it's great that you mentioned the pink bus idea, the initiative, because essentially that's what really does happen in Pakistan. A girl is harassed, and the parents will restrict her mobility, stop her from going out instead of going after the harasser. So, Bilkul, I hope that this mentality shift does come through and it comes at a greater pace. Moving forward, Ji, now, before I move on to my next speaker, I'd like to open the floor to questions. Perhaps we can take some questions for our speakers, and then we could have answers. So if I could take 2 questions together, if anyone wants to ask something, they can raise hands. Ji, please.
The question of the comments about the recent so what are your thoughts? What sort of mindset is this? Why have we not been able to prevent such incidents despite that? Something right in the heart of the work on this.
Is there another question that you can take, and then have some answer?
Like to ask about the gender action plan, which has gone to a report to us after perhaps gender action plan, we had a comprehensive presentation on 7th of March. It's celebrated in collaboration with the UN Women. All this we full spectrum gender mainstream starting itself. Then the license mysteries and divisions, because whatever plan we are making at the planning commission into the meeting platform and the approval platform for the development budget CDW each one forum. इसके अंदर जब तक हम जेंडर मेन स्ट्रीमिंग नहीं करेंगे और उसके साथ साथ लाइन मिनिस्ट्रीज को ट्रेन नहीं करेंगे, सो I think whatever we effort or plans or policies to make, it will just be shelled. So what exactly it does is इसमें हमें काफी initiatives across 6 themes and management within the ministry से लेकर PSTP, budgeting, checklist and gender markers developed किए हैं ताकि हम projects को tap कर सकें based on the percentage of allocation, financial allocation. फिर complete life cycle में किस areas में implement, किस जगह पे affirmative action के already engagement करनी है, impact assessment करनी है, beneficiaries of PSTP define करने हैं. उसमें हमने खवातीन का और marginalized communities का हिस्सा रखा. और eventually what will happen कि जब आप PSTP का budget जब आप consolidate करेंगे, you will have an idea कि इस साल के budget में 20-30% या 50% allocation हुआ है. Based on that gender tagging and based on that gender markers and gender checklists हमने बनाई. उसके बाद जो capacities की बात है कि trainings की बहुत जरूरी है, because आपने एक mainstreaming agenda या plan बना लिया, but if you don't engage the right stakeholders and train them, the असल PSTP projects नहीं बनाते, we just analyze it, sort of analysis करते हैं. But yeah, this is going to be a national effort, I think, including the province. इससे ये provinces में इस तरह की models को replicate करने के लिए, you're also supporting them and holding them out to replicate the model of gender unit in their PMD sections as well. और चौथा जो है making these public sector organizations more women friendly. उसमें हमने national anti-harassment policy framework बना लिया, और उसके अंदर हम digitization की तरफ जा रहे हैं. और already daycare centers में maternity paternity leave भी available हैं by the government of Pakistan, but then there are certain mechanisms that need to be in place ताकि khawatins are the safe place. So this is going to be a full spectrum engagement for last, but सबसे important है partnerships. Academia के साथ we're looking forward to joint collaborations in knowledge products, publications, and also research, particularly research-based to PSTP program and policy designing your skill in academia to engage. Already कर रहे हैं कुछ evaluations के लिए, but we want to further expand it with gender studies departments within universities. So maybe working on some indexes, assessing जो हमारा multi-dimensional poverty index है उसके अंदर हमने देखना है 24 districts identify हुए हैं उसके अंदर अगर if you go into the implementation of that project to uplift them, so we also need some research in क्या interventions required as specifically for them. So this is the kind of plan that we devised, and it's not a recent plan. Already हम इसमें काफी काम कर चुके हैं. We just launched it on the International Women's Day. But yeah, so a number of things are already on the roll now, so implementation is
See about violence against women and cases. अब ये है कि cases ये नहीं कि अब ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं, but I think ज़्यादा report हो रहे हैं, ज़्यादा बाहर निकल रहे हैं, मीडिया में आ रहे हैं. So I think this is a huge problem that has been there forever. और इस्लामाबाद में भी अभी आप देखें नूर मुकद्दम का केस देखें या दूसरे big cases of violence against women वो होते रहे हैं, and underneath violence is always power. So it's a mindset that the man is in power and he can control the woman and he can do whatever he likes. And until we change the mindset, बाकी बहुत सारी interventions are good, laws are there, laws need to be implemented. Mindset जो है वो change करना बहुत जरूरी है. एक mindset में ये भी होता है कि जो perpetrator होता है, they feel that they will not be held accountable. That's because our processes, laws are there, but our processes are not strong enough. So if ये change हो जाए, कि when you see one person being convicted, being tried, being punished, उससे mindset ज़्यादा जल्दी change होगा बजाय कि positive carrot and stick वाला होता है ना कि stick से हमारे case में ज़्यादा होगा. हमने प्योर women ने इस्लामाबाद में पुलिस के साथ बहुत काम किया था, एक gender protection unit बनाया गया था. तो उसमें इनिशियल हमने जब डेटा कलेक्शन की थी, कोई फॉर्मल डेटा कलेक्शन नहीं हुई थी, बट देयर वर सम वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग फाइंडिंग्स. एक तो ये था कि दिस जेंडर प्रोटेक्शन यूनिट वाज कंप्लीटली स्टाफ्ड बाय फीमेल्स. इवन द पर्सन हु टुक द कॉल वुड राइट डाउन टू द टीम दैट वेंट टू अगर कोई शिकायत आई है कि कहीं पे वायलेंस हो रही है, वेदर इट्स डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस और पब्लिक स्पेसेस में, तो दैट टीम वुड बी ऑल फीमेल एंड दे वुड गो एंड चेक कि क्या हुआ है. So they found out कि compared to when a male team goes, male team में अगर domestic violence में कोई औरत मुश्किल से हिम्मत करके उठा लेती है फोन और कहती है कि जी मेरा शौहर मुझे मार रहा है, तो और ये भी देखेंगे PDHS के मुताबिक 56% of women who have experienced violence have never shared it with anyone. आप सोचिए अगर आप अपने माँ बाप भाई बहन को नहीं बता सकते और शायद वही आप पे वायलेंस कर रहे हैं, तो कौन इतनी हिम्मत करेगा कि वो पुलिस को बताए. बट अगर पुलिस में मेल टीम आती है, the woman got scared and they would say नहीं गलती से कॉल होगी, नहीं मैंने नहीं की, नहीं मैं तो गिर गई थी, and they would send the mail. और दूसरा मेल्स के एटीट्यूड भी ऐसे होते थे कि बीबी घर की बात है, तो वो कह भी देती थी ना, वो कहते थे घर की बात है क्यों थाने में चक्कर लगाओगी. But when they started sending female police officers, they saw कि immediately the reporting went up. और उसमें वो खवातीन जो है, अभी रिसेंटली हम पंजाब CFCTs में गए थे, वहां भी उन्होंने ये बताया था कि जब फीमेल्स जाती हैं तो ज्यादा रिपोर्टिंग होती है, बट समटाइम्स इट्स अ रियली फार लोकेशन एंड इट्स इन द मिडल ऑफ द नाइट, दे आर अनएबल टू सेंड फीमेल्स. वो कहते हैं कई दफा होता है मेल्स जाते हैं, वो दरवाजे से उनको भेज दिया जाता है कि आप नहीं कोई गलती से कॉल हो गई है. देन दे से कि हमारी वहां पे पंजाब ने वर्चुअल वुमेन पुलिस स्टेशन बनाया है सेफ सिटीज. वो कहते हैं आप उन खातून से कहें कि जरा बाहर आके ना खातून पुलिस एजेंट से बात करें. सो जब वो होता है तो वो कर देती हैं. दूसरी चीज जो उनकी इनिशियल डेटा से पता चली थी वो ये थी कि यूजुअली डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस स्टार्ट्स विद समथिंग स्मॉल, एक थप्पड़ होता है और उसके बाद वो दैट मैन थिंक्स कि वो बस थप्पड़ उसने ले लिया एंड इट कीप्स गोइंग. तो दे सॉ दैट इन देयर एरिया इस्लामाबाद जितने भी मोस्ट सीरियस ऑफेंसेस थे, आइदर डेथ ऑफ द विक्टिम और सीरियस हर्ट, were cases that had never been reported. And in cases where the women did report, वो follow up भी करते हैं, they saw कि violence went down. So these are some very important things. सबसे important, I think, is justice. If justice is served, and my fellow panelists will be able to talk more about it. If justice is served, तो उससे mindset ज़्यादा जल्दी, मतलब वो एक जबरदस्ती mindset change होगा, जो carrot से या कुछ encouraging remarks से I think मुश्किल से change होता है. वो भी कर रहे हैं.
Having women at the helm of affairs makes a huge difference. I think the classic example is the abolishment of the two-finger test. एक औरत ही जब आई उस level पे decision making के level पे, she was the one able to understand the pain of women and how humiliating a rule and a test this is. Keeping that in mind, of course, we'll be talking more about this. Ma'am Rifat will be talking more about the revenge things. So, ma'am, I'd like to request you for your interventions.
Thank you very much, dear Samrita. And I must say now, good afternoon. सबसे पहले प्रेस टीपीआई को मुबारकबाद आपके इतना important discussion को इन्होंने arrange करवाया. And I was lucky to be part of the panel on the discussions taking data and violence based on I think 2 weeks earlier. So these discussions should not be, I must say, a day specific. We should be having more frequently. So it does nothing but at least sensitize and put the concerned stakeholders and government sectors on one platform. So जो fellow speakers हैं, सादिया हैं, समन हैं और बरीरा ने बड़ी खूबसूरती से जहाँ के ऊपर सादिया mention about the follow up with the teaching platform of action जो हमारा but the data unreleased which are our value. So मैं उसकी डिटेल में नहीं जा रही हूँ. बरीरा ने बताया border on Pakistan against new ambitions and plans of the government. It's very much appreciated when someone highlighted this. All the contributions, assistance coming up from everyone side. But let me say, Kofi Annan once said there is no powerful tool for the development more effective than the empowerment of women. Even I can recall Benzi Sarna ka saying thing, if you want to empower the woman, empower the media. Interestingly, 2 weeks ago, I happened to be a part of a discussion जिसमें जो मसाइल यहाँ पे हम जनरल वुमेन को लेके बैठे हैं वहाँ पे जो women within the media है, they were facing more or less the same challenges, problem और सब कुछ. So, but focusing on the BG platform of action के 3 बड़े जो उनके animals say the goals हैं, rights, empowerment and equality and empowerment. जहाँ तक राइट्स की बात है, let me say that वो सारी आपने एक legislation framework को encompass किया. I need not to repeat that. देखिए legal framework इतना robust, almost आपके around 80% issues पे सब deal भी कर रहा है, but still we are not able to get our due rights. क्या है उसकी deterrence create करने में भी काम है. उसकी enforcement नहीं है. That's why the incident you mentioned that has happened. उसके साथ आप एक mindset लगा लें जिसके against we have been struggling from even more than 30 years. इसका अपना समझ नहीं. Equality की बात करें तो equality, what is equality? We need to understand all the aspects of the government and non-government programs जो आते हैं, जो आज भी आए हैं, माजी में भी शायद आने वाले कल में भी आएंगे. But we have been missing जो मेरी पूरी research study है, we don't have the data to make any inclusive programs and the implementation strategies accordingly. आप उस वक्त तक equality की बात हम नहीं कर सकते when we have the data. We don't know कि जो 50% of the population, we want to succeed, we want to take the round, we want to fly. But other we are holding back the 50% of the population, we are still talking about the successful ones. I don't know, I'm not aware of that. So data is something which is missing. Or when it comes to the data and the programs or parallel use this hard cheese, I must say, the thing that has to grow is about the right planning. अभी recently 2 weeks ago जो हमारे पार्लियामेंट में जेंडर मेनस्ट्रीमिंग की जो कमेटी है, इस शायद साहबान की मीटिंग हुई है and the newspaper broke that information. Unfortunately, जो federal government के अंदर overall जो women की representation है, वो hardly is about constitute 8%. Provinces में चला जाए कहीं पे 2%, कहीं पे 3% था. And interestingly, वो जो representation भी है, वो representation आपकी more of the support staff है. We do not encourage women to come on the manager or the leadership position. I am very fortunate. I claim I'm the first female secretary in the history of Law and Justice Commission of Supreme Court of Pakistan, 30 years. But believe you me, it took me already almost 1 year of struggle and hard work and the delivery to tell them I can do this. It doesn't happen in case of a man. So it's all about wo mentality. Okay, if you make the decision, you select a woman by marriage, all that process. But still, जो उसकी acceptability है आपके अपने colleagues के अंदर, चाहे भी जो आपका vertical level है, आपका horizontal level है, उसके अंदर acceptability और उसके ऊपर एक जिसे कहते हैं response that is missing. So it has been very interesting, but incident share when there आप जब वो mention किया तो एक बात मैं इसको करूँगी आप कि हमारे यहाँ की जब मैं गई तो वहाँ के ऊपर जो washrooms नहीं थे फीमेल के सारा कुछ तो मैंने पूछा कि भाई washroom और सारा उसने कहा जी हमें नहीं पता था कि सेक्रेटरी भी आएगी हमारे पास. So that is the mindset. So वो पहले ही decide कर चुके होते हैं कि जी structures यहाँ पे किसकी है. So that is one thing कि जो हमें So equality को which is मतलब is a real impact and we don't have the data. आपको मुझे मीडिया की खवातीन से बात हुई है, they don't know कि editor in chief 60s में थी, 70s में थी, even 80s में जब हम go to that post, but still we see the hardships there. You don't know for how much the pool you have ready for that. कितनी और वहाँ पे training चाहिए. We focus on training is very much very generic and I must say for the documentation. So if we want to hit the Beijing 30 goals, goals and so we have to have the realistic data and the realistic. There may be down the road 5 years, we'll be repeating these discussions. Empowerment. What is required for empowerment? Empowerment comes through knowledge, awareness, education. So अगर आप वो देखें, वो rights जो कि हमें legal frameworks ने हमें protect करने की कोशिश की है. If I ask across room from the females, what are those rights which have been protected? I'm sure half of them do not be. So what about the general public? यहाँ पे किसी को नहीं पता होगा, मतलब if a few people may know कि आपका जो property जो protection वाला law है उसके तहत what type of right is protected? Harassment है क्या? Harassment is not something sometimes coming in touching you physically. Believe me, वो बड़ा easy है करना भी और शुरुआत में. But it's such a subtle way you are being discriminated, you are being challenged, and you are being tortured. Which when I seen around आया कि आप जिसे कहते हैं it's not about this something coming from males, even जो females players they do that. So हमें चीजों को बहुत different angles से देखने की जरूरत है. We really want to progress, excel and give the results आया. अगर आप रेप एक्ट को देखें, again ये इसका सच्चा floodgate of discussion आया. It's a very progressive legislation, but unfortunately जब ये legislation की इसके अंदर ऐसी embargoes chipping कर दी गई हैं, आप वो ASI जो एक PPC के तहत तो मुश्किल trained है, एक जो आपके जो offenses है जो जनरल नेचर के हैं, आप उसको रेप जैसे offense का वो उसको साइन करें कि go and do this. आपकी अगर आपने वो लॉज दे दी हैं उनके तहत आपकी what should I say there is no budgeting. It's not gender specific budgeting. That is something else. It's about your legislative budgeting. What is required? किसकी ट्रेनिंग होनी है? किसकी अवेयरनेस रिक्वायर्ड है? किसकी सेंसिटाइजेशन रिक्वायर्ड है? Okay. So I don't find कि किसी ने किसी इदारे ने भी जिसको वो पावर वो जिसमें उस पे काम करना है those अदारे knows about it. वो बजटिंग कैसे करनी है, आपको एचआर क्या चाहिए, आपको इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्या चाहिए, आपको इक्विपमेंट क्या चाहिए. और आपने निजाम वहाँ पे DNA की बड़ी important. Yes, we have abolished two-finger test that definitely rise another set of mitigation and basically from the legal background. But having said that, आपने जब उसको फंसी करवाना है, how we are going to protect women? आप उसको कह रहे हैं कि आपकी जो कमेटी बनेगी, that will decide. The matter will be referred to the committee. और FIR जो 24 घंटे में होनी है, कमेटी ने अगले 24 हफ्तों में फैसला नहीं किया. So what impact that will cause on that investigation and prosecution? Data violence. If you look at the violence data, it's not about the psychological violence we face in offices, we show home, society, या बाहर जाएं जो आपने बात की है. So why it is still so? मतलब अगर if most of you who have traveled abroad, we are so much मतलब lax mind. Nobody is looking at us. But the moment we come out of our houses, we have this fear to really be like really stand like an X-ray. वो जो society के अंदर एक जिसे कहते हैं ना susceptibility woman को as a human being, that I must say still is something lacking. वो चीज़ें वो हम उसमें पीछे हैं. So there is a lot to do, but जितनी progresses हुई हैं, we must appreciate इस legislation को जो legislative framework आया है उसको strengthen करना. That will be through proper enforcement implementations. इसके अंदर जो vices हैं, woman who resists a vice is really a courageous woman, I must. So what is the vice actually? It's not about this is my right, but this is actually the right which she is agitating. It's representing the whole hope. She belongs to God. So this is very important. Rights is our corresponding responsibilities. अब violence की अगर बात करें, पूरे चारों सूबे में आपका law है. What is prohibiting Islamabad? Passing that law. I have no idea. I have no idea. You don't find the violence law in Islamabad. Yes, there is a challenge. Someone who बात किया. Sin is very progressive. यहाँ पे 18 years of marriage आपने determine कर दिया. बाकी rest of the provinces are getting longer, so not 18 है. मैं कहती हूँ if it comes to enforcement, हम कहें उसको 16 और 18 को भी implement करवा लेंगे ना, तो शायद we will be able to save some child marriages. हम वो भी implement नहीं कर पाते. वो जो हमारा एक जिसे कहते हैं by fabric, by societal structure, we are in conflict. What is required? Societal growth, progress, usme with your religion, which has been interpreted, being interpreted by so-called religious scholars, not those which really understand and helpful. I must say, usme Islamic ideological concept is very helpful, sportive, और उसने भी काफी काम किया, उसको on board लाने की जरूरत है. So point is this कि आपको identify करना है वो those gap and then to focus, be it the government, be it the development sector, then we can get the results. Otherwise, I'm sure जो next reports Pakistan की gender gap में आ रही है, we ranking 142 and we will maintain our position. Empowerment, education, आपको बच्चियों को what we are imparting them a real very good degree, doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers, and like that. We are not imparting any skills. We are not imparting in the education, training, and the awareness about how good human being mothers, wives, sisters are in any role they could be. This is very unfortunate, I must say. Secondly, आज भी when I was the Secretary Law and Justice Commission, the program I gave there, वहां के ऊपर एक अवेयरनेस था कि जितना भी खवातीन की वो जो लेजिस्लेशन है उसका जेनेरिकली एक सिंपल ट्रांसलेशन उर्दू में या एक लैंग्वेज में हो गई और डंप ऑन द शेल्व्स. इस टेक्नोलॉजी के दौर में मैंने पहले भी इस प्लेटफॉर्म में आपके अर्ज किया था कि प्लीज आप मैनुअली एम्पावर नहीं अब कर सकते. You cannot bring some people on board in the room and say, okay, this is your right. So that is a continuous process, an unending process that yields results almost about a decade efforts of persistency of spreading that information. आप जब आज टिकटॉक दुनिया देख रही है, सोशल मीडिया है, ट्विटर है, तो स्टिल वी से कि मैं एक लॉ को उर्दू में या रीजनल लैंग्वेज में ट्रांसलेट करके आई पुट दैट इन अ
book, nice book and brochure and then no. So those campaigns are to be drafted. We can use, there are so many ways to do. This is very good initiative, pink buses, blue buses we are running for the females. But we can utilize those buses and the public transportation, other mass जो भी media है, आपका transportation है, for this awareness raising जिसमें because the maximum you talk to the people about their rights, they will know and then they can assert. जब rights का पता ही नहीं है तो assert कौन करेगा? So it will be only documented. Harassment is very important law, but if you look at, I don't see कि harassment की जो jurisprudence evolve हुई अभी तक, how we can document के क्या शक्ल structure the jurisprudence is taking and what precedent they are setting up. That's very important to do. So accordingly, we can identify the gaps and then we can areas जहाँ के ऊपर कुछ improvement है. Violence का law is need to be focused. उसकी अपनी एक जिसे कहते हैं बड़ी extensive trainings वो होनी है. So I believe knowledge awareness education के जरिए के बगैर आप empowerment नहीं कर सकते. So वो क्या categorize करना है, that is case to case specific. जो data is alarming, not only federal में बल्कि even if I published a report on the women in the justice sector, that was also alarming. So just look at the Supreme Court of Pakistan with all the respects. There are two females sitting. Justice Aisha made the class feeling. Justice Masar Ali, then she's strengthened. But abhi bhi agar aap dekhen, to it's very much male-driven representations. Sir, जो आपने केस की बात की, believe you me, I will share with you Sadia and put on your STPI. It's very valuable book. जिसमें judiciary has a lot of contribution and development the rights of the woman and the children. So that was my humble contributions during my stay there. कि जितनी भी आपकी अभी तक की jurisprudence आ चुकी है women's rights पे, be it your khula, be it your violence, be it your discrimination, education. So we documented it in a very comprehensive, easy understanding style. But yes, sir, जो आपने केस बात किया उस तरह के हम भी देखते आ रहे हैं, अभी भी आगे देखेंगे. That is a mindset. Yeah. The mindset these people represent, representatives are selected among these members of the societies. ठीक है, वो हम पार्लियामेंट में भी देख रहे हैं, वो हम गवर्नमेंट चाहे फेडरल है, प्रोविंशियल है, आप जहाँ आप जो डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर है जिसके साथ है, तो वो माइंडसेट सिर्फ एजुकेशन के साथ और कंटिन्यूअस अवेयरनेस एंड असर्टिंग योर राइट्स पॉजिटिवली वो बदलेगा. इस बट जो 30 साल बाद की बात है और 30 साल आज के बाद देन वी आर सिटिंग टॉकिंग आया. बट इंटरेस्टिंगली आई वाज टॉकिंग टू सम ऑफ फ्रेंड के पाकिस्तान में बिजनेस कल्चर वो क्यों एक्सपैंड नहीं कर पाया है. दिस इज मे बी रेलेवेंट, नॉट रेलेवेंट. आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग एन एग्जांपल एंड आई एम ट्राइंग टू एम्फसाइज माय वन पॉइंट. हम कह रहे हैं कंपनीज की सीईओज उनके बोर्ड्स में खवातीन आ गई हैं. इज दैट करेक्ट? कंपैरेटिवली कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में फीमेल की एक प्रॉपर रिप्रेजेंटेशन है एंड दे आर मोर ओपन एंड रिसेप्टिव. बट डिड यू सी कि वहां फीमेल्स कौन आई हैं? पाकिस्तान में अभी तक कोई बिजनेस सेक्टर उस तरह से ग्रो नहीं किया. इफ यू लुक एट द बांग्लादेश और सारा कुछ, वहां पे भी आज अगर आपकी जो एक पर्टिकुलर वो क्लास ऑफ बिजनेस पीपल हैं, उनकी वाइफ्स, sisters, mothers, and the family, they have not earned that position. They are granted those positions by virtue of being part of the family. So if this is the empowerment, but still we hail that. But जब तक हम अपनी enabling environment, पूरा constitution आपकी बात करता है rights की, या उसके अंदर females भी हैं, but unfortunately I don't see कि वो conducive environment, enabling environment आज भी आ गई है कि हम खवातीन को कोटे से बाहर निकाल दें. खुद political representation भी कोटे के मोहताज है. They hardly anybody see कि हमने 33% से ऊपर भी जाना है. So lot has been done, but much is to be done. And I think the discussions today have, which are held, is just tip of the iceberg. We can continue for days and weeks, and it's something. But I think a society, women is the architecture of the society, and the sooner is the realization. And I think the more we could be result oriented. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
जी
जी, please.
आपने काफी बातें की जो मुझे रेलेवेंट लगी. तो starting from domestic violence कि why is there not a law and उसमें अक्सर इस्लामिक जो है वो reasons दी जाती हैं and when the law was being passed and it was blocked by the Islamic scholars and at the time the head of the CII said that it is okay to lightly beat your wife. So इस पे UN Women ने एक कैंपेन स्टार्ट की थी, कम्युनिकेशंस कैंपेन. दिस आल्सो रिलेट्स टू योर पॉइंट अबाउट अवेयरनेस रेजिंग. हमने एक सोशल मीडिया पे एक वीडियो शेयर की थी जिसमें फर्स्ट लाइन थी बीट मी. आई डोंट नो इफ सम ऑफ यू हैव सीन इट, आई सी सम हेड नॉडिंग्स. बीट मी थी और फिर उसमें हर औरत आके बता रही थी, जिस तरह हमारी जो माउंटेनियर्स हैं वो आ कही थी बीट मी एट टू द टॉप ऑफ द माउंटेन. जो हमारी स्पोर्ट्स वुमेन थी वो आ रही थी, वो कही थी बीट मी इन स्पोर्ट्स. जो हमारी फार्मर्स थी वो कही थी बीट मी इन ग्रोइंग क्रॉप्स. और एंड में देयर इज अ वुमन हु इज शोन एंड शी इज प्रेग्नेंट एंड शी सेज बीट मी एट लाइफ. सो वो हमने कैंपेन, बहुत ज़्यादा सही पॉइंट है कि अवेयरनेस रेजिंग बहुत ज़रूरी है. और आजकल के दौर में सोशल मीडिया और सोशल मीडिया पे हम वी लॉन्च्ड मेनी कैंपेन्स व्हिच हैव बीन ह्यूजली सक्सेसफुल. और आई वांटेड टू टेल यू दैट हमारी लेटेस्ट जो कैंपेन अभी इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स डे पे लॉन्च हुई है, इट्स अबाउट डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस. इट्स अबाउट द इनविजिबल इफेक्ट्स ऑफ डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस. क्योंकि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस या तो आपको नजर ही नहीं आता कि हो रही है बिकॉज घर के पीछे होती है और कई दफ़ा इमोशनल होती है. या आई रिमेंबर एक दफ़ा लेबनान में एक टीवी प्रोग्राम में दे शोड ब्यूटी पार्लर की खातून जो है वो एक औरत को बता रही थी कि अगर तुम्हें निशान लगे मार का तो उसे कैसे छुपाना है. उस पर भी सोशल मीडिया पे बहुत ज़्यादा अप्रोर हुई थी कि इंस्टेड ऑफ स्टॉपिंग द वायलेंस यू टेलिंग हर टू हाइड इट और कैसे हाइड करना है. सो उसमें हमने बहुत अच्छी तरह मेहंदी को लिया है टू शो हाउ मेहंदी जो है वो इट्स इंकिंग द इनविजिबल. सो आई वुड लाइक यू टू आस्क ऑल ऑफ यू व्हेन यू गो बैक, आप हमारी कैंपेन चेक करें एंड इट्स अ वेरी थॉट प्रोवोकिंग कैंपेन दैट that's what we want to do in our campaigns कि shape people. एक हमने कैंपेन बनाई थी चाइल्ड वेडिंग कार्ड्स, जिसमें बच्चियां खुद कार्ड बना रही थी अपनी शादी की. दिस वाज 2023 में और उसकी हमने वीडियो भी पोस्ट की थी. सो वी वांटेड टू शेक पीपल कि थिंक कि एक बच्ची है 10 साल की, 12 साल की, 14 साल की, वो कह रही है कम टू माय वेडिंग विद मिस्टर सो एंड सो. पहले गेम्स खेलेंगे, फिर मेहंदी लगाएंगे, फिर निकाह होगा. So all these things, in social media, it's a huge tool and we need to use it more and more because अब तो मतलब इतनी ज़्यादा penetration हो गई है mobiles की, smartphones की, and people everywhere have them. That's a very easy tool. जिस तरह है ना, book पढ़ने की बजाय आप video देखें and that's informative. So just wanted to add that. Thank you for giving me the time.
No problem. No. Thank you very much. बिल्कुल आपने सही फरमाया. सोशल मीडिया जो है empowered होगा तो खवातीन empowered होंगी. और कैंपेन्स इसी तरह की होनी चाहिए कि वो सिर्फ खवातीन को उनके हकूक़ के बारे में ना बताएं, बल्कि मर्दों को भी बताया जाए कि वो उनके लिए हकूक़ फ़ायदेमंद हैं और ओवरऑल एक इम्प्रूवमेंट और बेहतरी आएगी सोसाइटी में. और आई थिंक इसका एक बहुत क्लासिक एग्जाम्पल निकाह नामे का और राइट टू डिवोर्स का है कि खवातीन तो मांग रही होती हैं वो राइट टू डिवोर्स, वो कहती हैं उस पेज को मत काटें, लेकिन मर्द पास से कह रहे होते हैं कि अभी शादी हुई नहीं है और तुम पहले से डिवोर्स की बातें कर रही हो. तो आई थिंक
मर्द नहीं, खवातीन की
खवातीन, हाँ,
बहुत ज्यादा
फैमिलीज ओवरऑल, बिल्कुल. तो
But again, कि करना क्या है, इशू क्या करना क्या, दैट इज द अप्रोच वी हैव टू अडॉप्ट. उसमें वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इज वो जो निकाह रजिस्ट्रार क्या है उनका है. उनको ही इज टू बी ट्रेन्ड एंड टेल कि आप उन्हें कहें कि ये निकाहनामा उस वक्त तक रजिस्टर नहीं होगा जब तक कि आप ये सारे पर्टिकुलर्स इसके कंप्लीट नहीं करेंगे. सो दैट विल रिमेन इनकम्प्लीट, गवर्नमेंट विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट इट. और निकाहनामा की इतनी इंपॉर्टेंस है, सॉरी एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ टेकिंग योर टाइम, बट 2 minutes में आई वाज पोस्टेड बिकॉज आई एम अ फार्मर जज. जब मेरी पोस्टिंग होगी लाहौर में, और दिस वाज सेकंड वीक ऑफ माय पोस्टिंग देयर, आई वाज देयर एज अ फैमिली जज. और खातून केम वेरी ब्यूटीफुल, 3 बच्चों के साथ रो रही थी. या मैंने कहा क्या हुआ, तो उसने कहा जी 3 साल हो गया और मेरे बच्चों का खर्चा नहीं मिला है. मैंने कहा जी ठीक है, अब योर केस इज टुडे. उसने कहा नहीं, कोई वीक बाद. मैं कहा जस्ट गो एंड आई विल सी योर केस. सो आई रेड द केस और सारा. शी फाइल्ड केस ऑलमोस्ट 3 years गो. ये बात है 2008 की मैं कर रही हूँ. सो उस वक्त उसने 3 साल पहले किया डिसोल्यूशन ऑफ मैरिज एंड बच्चों का खर्चा जो भी उसका निकाहनामा वाज देयर, इट वाज नॉट रजिस्टर्ड. The Khaman, whatever the person was there, was settled at UK. उसने कहा she is not my wife और ये मेरे बच्चे ही नहीं है. So my predecessor dissolution की हद तक उसने marriage dissolve कर दी, बच्चों की हद तक उसने issues बना दिए, interim maintenance नहीं दिया under law. उसने कहा कि जी ये बच्चे जो है ये evidence लाएगी, ये paternity established होगी तो खर्चे मिलेंगे सारा कुछ. So एक मेंटेलिटी है ये आपने जब जुडिशरी की बात है सो आई आस्क माय डिस्कस समटाइम हम केसेस करते हैं डिस्कस तो कोलीग्स ये आप इस सूरत में क्या करते हैं उन्होंने कहा जी उसे एविडेंस रेज किया है खामोश रही मैं आई रेड द फाइल ट्वाइस एंड मेड माय डिसीजन आई सेड कि जी when the court dissolved you said she is not your wife they are not your kids when the court dissolved that वो निकाह जो भी था against you you did not challenge and you accepted she being your wife
Yeah, that's a love point.
ठीक है so I assume she is your wife and they are your kids और तुम इतना खर्चा दोगे and you are to prove she is not your wife and they are not your kids not that lady मैं उसको इस मुसीबत में नहीं डालूंगी यार within 1 month there was a compromise between the parties he accepted the children और सारा जो भी था जो कि resolution हो गई थी and they withdraw the case जैसा भी था ठीक है so बड़ी आपने वो sensitization करनी है जुडिशरी भी समटाइम आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स नहीं सोचती रिलीफ जिसे कहना है वो आप किताबें पढ़ के नहीं दे सकेंगे इट्स समथिंग यू फील फ्रॉम हार्ट एंड यू फील फॉर द पेन ऑफ द अदर पर्सन
Thank you, Ji.
so that is the importance of nikahnaama
बिल्कुल सही फरमाया बिल्कुल in the interest of time I'd like to move towards the concluding remarks now for that we will be requesting Dr. Fariha Armakan who is research fellow here at STPI and head of the Center of Evidence Action Research Unit. Madam, over to you.
Thank you very much. It has been absolutely a pleasure listening to our esteemed panelists, Ms. Barira Hanif, Ms. Saman Ehsan, and also Dr. Rifat Inam Bhatt. And it was really heartening to see that all the insights, especially they came from all the core pillars, like from the implementers, the Planning Commission, from the development, the perspective from the development sector, and also from the policy legislative side. So just a few thoughts around this important day and this narrative of women equality, equity, and empowerment. That yes, we can say that Pakistan has taken certain significant strides in the past decades to fix this women empowerment, equity, and women in economy nexus, but still it's a long way. It's very much evident from our certain policies. For example, we can see the National Gender Policy Framework launched by Planning Commission during COVID, how it was totally framed around gender. Then our National Financial Inclusion Strategy by Central Bank, which comes with a very intense gender lens. And then programs by development partners like Banking on Equality, ensuring that women take the lead role with a quota percentage in financial sector. And of course, if we see our federal budget, one of the largest allocation goes to social protection, all allocated for women, the poorest and the most vulnerable women. So in terms of policy making, yes, we have designed really effective policies, but still there's a gap. Rather, still there's a certain type of myopia in the system, which is not very cognizant of actually how to facilitate this agenda of women empowerment at national level or in a very effective way. So, for example, you referred to that, yes, quota is there. Quota is there and it's a good starting point, but gone are the days of this starter. I mean, even if you talk to women in power corridors, the struggle is equal. It's not only a struggle at the bottom of the pyramid, it's the same struggle at the top of the pyramid. For example, if you talk to women parliamentarians who have been selected by the electoral process versus the parliamentarians that came by quota, there's a world of difference in terms of how they're onboarded, how they're part of decision making. They do come with a lot of grievances. And again, what needs to be done, that first, initially it was about incrementalism, like the Beijing Plus 30 came a long way, decades of existence and just pitching into the agenda. But again, this is not going to work anymore for us. We need a sense of urgency model around women empowerment. I mean, we just cannot compromise this 40%, 48% of the population that is essentially women in Pakistan. And we need evidence-guided mainstreaming. It cannot be vanilla standalone projects. I mean, they have to be holistic projects which are talking to each other, which are actually reinforcing each other rather than vanilla projects, whether they're coming from government, whether they're coming from development partners. And again, also in the terms of legislation. So there's a need for transition from gender exploitative model to gender transformative model. And again, we have to fix certain things. For example, we need to accelerate women financial inclusion. We have to develop a women ecosystem of women entrepreneurship. We have to revisit care economy. Again, how to address patriarchy? It is to revisit care economy and introduce these interventions of incentive. I mean, incentive really works for the population, which is actually affected by patriarchy. And then again, we need to build our female labor participation force. I don't know, Pakistan has been sleeping over it in terms of policy paradigm, that we have a non-existent female labor participation force. So again, gender responsive budgeting, gender responsive projects. And again, you mentioned about gender responsive legislation, but not in terms of, not in terms of budgeting. Further, again, we also have a huge myopia in terms of women leadership roles. Only 5% of women in Pakistan are in leadership spaces. And this is again, there's a very famous Broadway musical called Hamilton, in which the punchline of the main character is, I want to be in the room where it happens. I think so women should be in all decision-making spaces. And for that, we particularly need male champions to pursue that agenda. I mean, for any trailblazer women, we need a whole hierarchy of male champions at the back end to push this. And I think so one element that is missing in Pakistan, that is like missing the focus, is women solidarity networks at all levels. I mean, somehow we put our confidence in male leadership, but we are somehow intimidated when we work with each other. I mean, this network needs to be developed where we have full confidence on the female hierarchy as well. We do need support of each other in terms of climbing the ladder. So I think so this is something which really needs to be done at an accelerated pace. Equality, empowerment, equity, ecofeminism, women, like the justice planning around it. And again, and this is unimaginable ways in which women inequality is shaping up. For example, just in the floods of 2022, we heard this phenomena of the climate brides of Balochistan, where when hit by flood, they were not able to, they took loan from loan sharks, they'd never had the repayment capacity, and then they had to give in their female child into early marriage to settle that loan. Last year, we had this phenomenon of monsoon bride. And again, just like yesterday, UN country representative just talked about it. She tweeted about it. It's reported in European media. So just like wondering if legislation can be done from the planning side, if some projects around this can take place with take cares of early warning system, or how this is actually affecting women. I mean, like something coming from a totally different pillar of climate change directly affecting women disproportionately. I mean, this is like something in the most ugliest form that we can imagine is hurting women. So we really need this sense of urgency model, just like SDGs, that like everything else, from every other policy paradigm, the women empowerment agenda comes the center stage, it comes the center seat. So just few thoughts around it, and extremely grateful to our distinguished panelists for talking about this such critical and core agenda concerning Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your time, the panelists and the participants. Unfortunately, I cannot offer tea or snacks, but yes, thank you very much. And I request all the panelists for a group photo, if we could have a group photo.